On this day in Tudor history, the 26th of September 1592, poet and translator Thomas Watson was buried at St Bartholomew-the-Less in London. You may not know his name, but in Elizabethan circles he was admired for daring verse, elegant Latin, and, oddly, a brush with homicide. I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and today let's meet the poet who wrote 18-line sonnets, carried letters for Sir Francis Walsingham, wrote lyrics for William Byrd, and once ended up in prison after stepping between Christopher Marlowe and a blade. Watson was born in around 1555-1556 in the parish of St Helen, Bishopsgate. At Winchester College from age 11 and then Oxford, he moved among rising writers like John Lilly and George Peele. After university, he headed to France and Italy, soaking up poetry, studying law, and steeping himself in the newest literary fashions. By 1581, he was trusted by Sir Francis Walsingham, Elizabeth I's spy master, to carry letters from Paris to William Cecil. That same year, he published a Latin translation of a work by Sophocles, and he'd already translated Petrarch into Latin and composed Latin poems of his own. He was a man equally at home in the schoolroom, the study, and the court. In spring 1582, Watson released the book that made his name, the Hekatompathia, or Passionate Century of Love, a sequence of 100 love poems. But there's a twist. Watson's sonnets ran to 18 lines, not 14, showing off learned conceits and musical phrasing. He dedicated the set to Edward de Vere, Earl of Oxford. And his Latin output kept pace. A prose treatise, Compendium Memoriae Localis, and Amyntas, a set of 11 Latin verse lamentations in 1585, and in 1586 a translation of a Greek poem on Paris and Helen for Henry Percy, 9th Earl of Northumberland. He even supplied lyrics for William Byrd in 1589, then turned Italian song into English with the first set of Italian madrigals Englished in 1590. Not literal line-by-line translations, but words shaped after the affection of the note. When Walsingham died, Watson wrote an eglogue upon the death of Sir Francis Walsingham in 1590, dedicating it to the statesman's daughter, Lady Frances Sidney. He could be courtly and consoling when duty called. Then came the moment that stamped his legend. In 1589, in the midst of a London brawl involving Christopher Marlowe and William Bradley, Watson stepped in. Bradley, armed with sword and dagger, wounded Watson in the thigh. In the struggle, Watson killed Bradley. The coroner judged it manslaughter in self-defence. Watson was imprisoned for a few months and then pardoned. It's a vivid glimpse of the dangerous, combustible world that these writers moved through. Watson never stopped writing. In 1592, he published the Latin pastoral Amintae Gaudia, The Joys of Amyntas. And the following year after his death, The Tears of Fancy, 60 English sonnets signed T.W., appeared in print. 1592 was a plague year, and Watson died that summer or early autumn and was laid to rest at St Bartholomew-the-Less. He was still young, but he left a striking footprint, a poet who bent form to his will with those 18-line sonnets, a polished Latinist at ease with Petrarch, Sophocles, and pastoral elegy, a collaborator across the arts, supplying words for composers and translating madrigals, and a figure moving at the edge of power, trusted by Walsingham, writing for great nobles, yet caught up in a street fight that could have ended his own story. If you'd like to sample some of Watson's work, then try a few pieces from Hekatompathia, or dip into The Tears of Fancy to hear his English voice evolve. He really is a fascinating reminder that the Elizabethan literary world was both bookish and rather perilous. If you enjoyed this on this day, then please do like, subscribe and ring the bell for more daily Tudor stories. And if you want more Tudor content, then consider joining my channel membership for extras like resources, Zoom discussions and a monthly magazine. You can find out more on the Anne Boleyn Files YouTube channel.